Hello everyone, we will continue our series about microservices design patterns in practice. We're using Java, Maven, and Spring Boot, which will make it easy to be able to build and see microservices in action. Today, I will add the MVC, the Model View Controller. This is actually continuation from the previous video, so make sure that you watch the other video first, because this is a continuation from the same project. We built the microservice in the previous video. Today we will add the model and the controller to be able to access the APIs. So I want to remind you that you can clone the project in GitHub. I have this project already in GitHub. So if you would like to clone it, you can just say clone and you can get all the code if you want to follow along. Let me go through the installation again. If you just clone the project, you change the mode to executable for mvnw, and then you run the command mvnw clean install, and you skip the test. When you say this skip test equal true, it will take around 7 seconds, not much, so we can wait for it. After we're done, it will install all the dependency in the pom.exe file. So just let's clear the screen, do ls, and see. Yeah, we have all the files here. If you run idea space dot, it will open IntelliIdea with the project, the current directory, as a separate project, so we can work in it. We go to the service. This is a service, user microservice application. This is the one that we are working on, and we built the API. Let's start the terminal and then start the service so we can see the server and how it look on the browser. So you do run, and now it will start the service, and you can see the terminal having, and it will actually start a Tomcat web server on port 8080. So if you would like to see in the browser, I will drag it here in front of you right now. You go localhost colon 8080 slash the git mapping that you see in front of you. This is the one that you have, server underscore name, and it will show user microservice as we are seeing to return in the function. So even if I refreshed right now, you can see that it's live. And if you go in the text, let's go a little bit up to see the Tomcat when it starts, because Spring Boot automatically starts Tomcat web server at port 8080, and you don't have to do anything. It just do all the configuration for you and start the REST controller. So as I told you, it will make our life a lot easier using Spring Boot in this case. And if you open the project, try to set the enable. This is IntelliJ. I'll give another video about how to do IntelliJ, but go to the preferences, and under the build execution, compiler, annotation processors, and enable annotation processing, because this will help us in Lombok, that we can just add the annotation. And also make sure that the Lombok plugin is installed, and you can see here on the left side what Lombok can do, the getters and setters. It adds a lot of things for you by just those annotations that you can add to the code. Now let's add the MVC, the model view controller. Now let's create the model. We'll create a package. Well, we call it web.model. We'll create the model there, which is actually a user class. So let's create a new Java class, and let's call it user. And inside this user class, we will create actually two attributes. One is the ID and the other is the username. So let's create those two to private UUID, which is the ID, and then a string, another private string. We'll call it username, and then after that we'll use the magic of actually Lombok by having the decorator that's called add data. This by itself, it's, as you can see here, it's Lombok. It will add import Lombok data. Actually, this will add for you the setters and getters automatically, which will save a lot of code that you would write. And then after that, we will add also no args constructor and all args constructor. Those simply will add constructor that takes all arguments, and constructor that without any arguments in the parameters, as you can see. Now let's create the controller. So you'll go and create another package, this under the same directory, call it web or under web if you would like, and we can call under web, we can have call it controller, just simple controller, and under this will come different controllers after that. So after you call it controller, and we will build a class from there. Now let's create a new Java class. Here's Java class user controller, call it user controller, and this will be the controller that we will build right now. Building a REST controller in Spring Boot is so easy. You just add the annotation REST controller. It will do all the work for you. It will first, of course, import the REST controller. The nice thing, it will actually create the response for you. Now we need to create mapping. What's the git mapping? Git mapping is the command git. Please refer back to my REST explanation, but it's one of the git for the REST commands to get something. And this is /user. That means this is the mapping. Whenever you have the local host or the website that you have /user, it will go and get this thing, which is public. Like we'll create a function which is like get user, let's say what we can name it, but let's say get user name, for example, and it will return string. So right now we'll not give it any parameters, and all what we need to do is just return a string with a username. Let's put my name, Rani Al-Husseini, and this will return automatically actually the string Rani Al-Husseini. Now let's run the program and see how it will look. So you click on rerun, it will stop and run again. You look into the screen. Now we change to Rani Al-Husseini. You click refresh, it will show Rani Al-Husseini, localhost 8080/user. And this is what we had in the code itself when we said the mapping will return string Rani Al-Husseini, and we map to /user. Let's change the UUID that we added at the beginning to @ID, the annotation ID. It will be a lot easier. So we can pass only the username for now to be able to show it easier in this demo. So go back to the model, to the class, and change the UUID to @ID to be, so the user will be, the class user will be, as you can see in front of you. Now let's do something. Let's see how it's returning. Maybe I'm just playing games, so let's have another name, like let's say new name, and let's restart again, rerun the program, stop and run. It will open the text menu, and then when you do restart, oops, it's your name, so it's correct. It's taking the new name from here. Let's change it now and return an instance of the user class. And here you can see it's completing username automatically, adding for you that's username. And you can add I am a user, and of course we need to return user, not a string. And actually IntelliJ will automatically import user class, as you can see from a web model up there. Yep. So let's go back, save what we've done here, rerun again, and you'll see that it's returning not only the string, but it would return JSON object. Let's get it a little bit bigger. And yeah, here's bigger. Let's move it up a little bit again. We'll get it bigger more. So as you can see, this is a JSON object. It's not string like the first time. It returned I am a user, but it's username part of JSON object. And that's because we're returning a model, and it's now returning the proper object, which is a JSON object. So now it's actually returning from our model. We'll now see how this converts this model into a database, but for now it's like we're instantiating and we're adding an instance, we're adding data into it. We're having a user, which we call I am a user, and it's returned this object to us. If you liked this video, please like, subscribe, enable the notification bell, and visit me on my website, rani.tk. Thank you.